Now I would like to invite Professor Chakrabarti to give his talk. I don't think that I have to introduce him because he is very, very famous. Please, Dr. Chakrabarti.
Friends, good morning to you all. After going through these skin manifestations, we are going back to the area where in the diagnosis we discussed about galactomannan, beta-glucan, but there is one important issue still remain, that is molecular diagnosis of invasive fungal disease. You see, in invasive fungal disease, if you don't treat 100% mortality, even if you treat 50% mortality. So we need to do something in this area so that we can reduce the mortality in this patient. So what is the management mantra? Management mantra is early diagnosis and prompt therapy. But dilemma of the clinicians who are sitting here must be, let you give the diagnosis, then I can treat the patient. Clinical symptoms and signs are non-specific in invasive fungal disease. Imaging, it may help in certain way in immunocompromised patients, but most of the immunocompetent patient or non-neutropenic patient, it doesn't help. And our conventional techniques, yes, that's good, but it takes a long turnaround time. Patient cannot stay without antifungal drug. And in case of these conventional techniques, we find that this is insensitive and a lot of patients are diagnosed only in postmortem. But friends, I am optimist. I see always there is some light at the end of the tunnel. The reason is there are some improvements which are coming up. Look into these areas, sample collection. It was definitely difficult in case of neutropenic patient, but with the improvement techniques, now we are getting more samples by fine needle aspiration or open lung biopsy. Even bronchoscopy has improved in diagnosis of fungal disease. In case of direct microscopy, that is the culture and histopathology are conventional techniques, but what we are knowing about it, if we can have a good medical micrologist who do direct microscopy, and microscopy can pick up many things. Like pneumocystis, you can pick up without no time, within few minutes, if you have a good stain and a good micrologist. So that can help. Identification, that's one area where we were lacking, but now with the MALDI and sequencing, we are improved in this area at all. Antigen detection, of course, in two diseases, histoplasmosis and cryptococcus is doing very good. Friends, there are several improvements also had occurred in case of rapid identification by phenotypic method. Of course, we are not able to identify Candida auris by this method, but several of these other species can be identified in no time. I'm going first with a case. Look at this patient, 20-year-old male, ALL, precursor B cell, received induction chemotherapy, partial remission, could not finish the consolidation course due to prolonged neutropenia, later due to relapse, received modified chemotherapy. This patient, during the second course of chemotherapy, the patient received 400 milligram of oral fluconazole daily as antifungal prophylaxis. Febrile neutropenia develops 2 days later, so antibiotic given imipenem, vancomycin, even micafungin had been given, because earlier it was the fluconazole which had been given, didn't work, so given micafungin. After 4 days, there was some multiple skin lesions starting from the leg, spreading to the face, upper extremity were identified. I'll show you the lesion. The lesion is very typical, but missed by the clinician. Blood culture grew mycelial fungus. Our dictum is all this mycelial fungus grew in blood culture are contaminated, so it was discarded. So you see this lesion. Can you suspect any fungal disease? Just now, there were a lot of things had been discussed by Professor Lee. Whatever it is, if you are not able to identify, the lesion worsened. And the antifungal treatment was replaced with caspofungin from micafungin. I don't know why. Biopsy of the skin lesion showed presence of septate hyphae. occupying the vascular space, diagnosed as angioinvasive aspergillosis. So because of diagnosis of angioinvasive aspergillosis, voriconazole started. In addition to the caspofungin, because there was no good response, HRCT of the lung shows there are multiple speculated lesions with high density in the lung. And this time, after 1 week, the sputum and skin tissue culture grew mycelial growth. Then we are contacted after a long time. So the sample came to us from the other center. We identified it was Fusarium oxysporum by both MALDI and sequencing. But by that time, this is the culture which is there, but patients succumb due to delay in diagnosis. So friends, what is the lesson learned from this particular case? First important lesson is that all septate hyphae are not aspergillus. We generally, all histopathologists, say that septate hyphae means it is aspergillus. Second important thing is that Fusarium and Scedosporium may be present in the blood culture. So don't discard if there is mycelial fungi on blood culture. Need early identification for optimizing therapy. Conventional techniques long time. Direct sequencing from the sample may help in early identification, but needs expertise and may not be available in all centers. So friends, you see this is MALDI, which can answer to a lot of our questions. Those who are not using MALDI, this is the basic principle of MALDI, is that with laser, we target on the growth, and depending upon the ion formed in the pulses, which are going into the other end as detector, ion detector, there is the spectrum which is being used. Each fungus has got a specific spectrum, even in bacteria. So that really helps, and that's why what it happened is that we could identify a lot of our yeast. But again, in case of MALDI, mostly this database is from the Western world. In case of our Asian countries, there are several new species are there. So those species had to be added in the database to improve your sequence or to improve your identification by MALDI. That's the way we tried, and you can see that there was no database where Candida auris, Candida vishwanathai, Codemia omeri, these are some of the yeast had been identified from blood culture, had been added, and that improved the database. Even in case of mycelial fungi, we tried to see what should be the best method of doing, and by doing this, we found that the bead beating is the best method, but that can be used. And what we found is that the turnaround time improved significantly. And you can see so many species of mycelial fungi we are now successfully able to identify by doing the MALDI. Another area which I talked yesterday, that is when in blood culture you had just signal, try to centrifuge it, take the deposit and do the MALDI. And our success rate in this situation is quite high. We found 67% of the cases we could identify by that. So friends, you can see compared to the conventional and DNA sequencing, this is one of the way you can identify much early. Now coming to the identification of fungus in the tissue. As I have said that a lot of times histopathologists say septate hyphae, that means there is presence of aspergillus, but it may not be so. So immunohistochemistry is there, in situ hybridization is there, but what we generally do is the extraction of the DNA from the tissue and then do the sequencing. Here, if we are taking fresh tissue, our success rate is 90%, but in case of formalin-fixed tissue, 60 to 70% cases we are successful. You can see this is one of our paper where we have tried in rhinocerebral mucormycosis from fresh tissue doing sequencing identification. Going another interesting case. This is a 72-year man, resident of a particular province in case of our country. He went to have bath in a lake. After swimming in the lake, he had irritation in the eye, so he was treated with antibiotic and steroid eye drop. After 7 days, eye swelled. He was referred from the Rajasthan to capital city Delhi with a diagnosis of polymicrobial keratitis. At Delhi, in a very good reference center, they did the confocal microscopy and showed that there is presence of hyphae, so treated with topical and systemic voriconazole. But his condition deteriorated. After 1 month, he had undergone keratoplasty. Just see, he had a bath or swim in the lake, then there is eye irritation. Ultimately, he had keratoplasty. And this keratoplasty on histopathology diagnosed as Aspergillus keratitis. After 1 month, developed panophthalmitis, means all part had been inflamed. Patient had the enucleation, means we had to enucleate the eye, means it was in another center, Delhi, not at our center. No culture was positive, but histopathology diagnosed it again as aspergillosis. Voriconazole and augmentin continued, but he went on deterioration. Now you see, further up to a month, MRI showed infection had spread to the cavernous sinus, and also carotid artery developed lung infection, shifted to ICU. Just imagine, where from the patient was absolutely okay, had a swim in a lake, and now he is in ICU. We were contacted at that time. We were sent the histopathology photograph. What do you think? Is it Aspergillus? No. Yes, we also thought no. Mucor? We were loudly thinking, can it be mucor? So what they started giving, immediately they given liposomal amphotericin B and posaconazole. And this time we requested them send the tissue section and send us the, if you can give us a biopsy. So they send us 2 tissue section of 10 micrometer thick section. We extracted the DNA, amplified the DNA, and PCR showed Pythium insidosum. You know, this is a real rarity, but sometimes if you could have identified, then ARIA had been contacted because she is so expert in pithiosis. She has sent antigen. They had a lot of money, but we could not save the patient because it was too late. So this is the way where we really face a lot of problems. But now I am going to say you always not a bad story, success story. This is another patient, 76-year-old man, met with an accident. Above elbow amputation had been done. 12-day post-surgery, extensive tissue inflammation and necrosis in the amputation stump. Biopsy showed ribbon-shaped hyphae, so thought to be mucormycosis. Liposomal amputation given, but the lesion progressed and involved the chest one. So we cannot do the debridement at that time. This patient was referred to us via US. So they contacted US. US told you contact Dr. Chakraborty at the Chandigarh Center, and then we asked for the culture. They could not provide the culture, but I then asked, send me a biopsy from the chest wall. And from the biopsy of the chest wall, by molecular technique, I found it is not, it's mucor, but it's the Apophysomyces variabilis. And in case of Apophysomyces variabilis, we know that amphotericin B sometimes may not work because the MIC is much high. And it had also shown amphotericin B resistant Apophysomyces which have been published. So what we did is that we treated this patient with hyperbaric oxygen and posaconazole. He responded well. So I'm telling you how much important if we can identify the fungus. You know, there are several other techniques that come up. These are isothermal amplification. If you don't have the PCR or doing this amplification, you can do isothermal amplification, different methods that come up and giving good result. Now, again, I'm coming back to MALDI. MALDI can also give you susceptibility testing, but it's still not in routine practice. We are developing it. What we have found is that between the resistant and susceptible isolate, there is a difference in mass spectral difference which is there. And this is being seen, like suppose if you have got 4 microgram fluconazole, if it is a susceptible strain, would have a different picture, and if it is a resistant, there would be a different picture. And on that basis, you can see you can see this is the MPCC and this is the fluconazole micro concentration. So you can do a linear picture which can be done. And you can see there is the difference between the susceptible and the resistant isolate in case of spectra. And this had been seen with the exposure with the antifungal, much difference in case of the spectra. And this we could do a very good study, and you can see the comparison which is there very good comparing to the MPCC and MIC. So you can have this susceptibility testing which can be used in routine in later part. So with this, let's go into the other part of our discussion, that is the culture-independent diagnosis, whether from the sample we can really, in case of blood or serum, we can do about it. You can see this improvement. This is in MD Anderson data, where it had shown 80% of their invasive fungal disease were diagnosed post-mortem, but there is so much improvement, 49% had been in post-mortem. So there is a gross improvement, and this had become because of the molecular diagnosis. I said of this T2 imaging that had been used in case of Candida, and you can see this has improved compared to the BACTEC. It can detect much more early. But I said that there is problem that it can only identify 5 Candida species. You cannot identify all Candida species, and you cannot replace susceptibility testing. So comparison in different areas of the hospital where the prevalence, you can see the positive predictive value also changes in T2. Now coming to the real fungal PCR. Can we do in case of the sampling? European group, 39 laboratories, they sat together and developed a European Aspergillus PCR initiative. What they have found is that major issue is the contamination, as well as there is problem of the amount of DNA in the sample. So what the recommendation is that you need a large volume of the blood if you have to do the PCR, and from this large volume, elution volume should be small and mechanical lysis would be better. And then I know it's very difficult to go through these slides, but these are the protocol, different steps which are required. After collection of the blood, you have to hemolyze the erythrocyte, then leukocyte lysis, then fungal cell lysis with this bit beating and this. So these are the notes which is there and rationale. You can go through this particular paper, can give you in details how you can go for doing this protocol. But what it had been shown is that, yes, compared to the beta-D-glucan and as well as galactomannan, this is well comparable. That means you can replace it, and that's why this is the strategy. They have said that in a patient where you are suspecting fungal disease, twice screening with Aspergillus PCR, and that may help in this scenario. Can it also diagnose mucormycosis? These 2 papers are there, but again I am trying to say is that we are trying to standardize this PCR for a long time. We are still not successful in this. But this particular PCR had shown that it can be very well positive in 81% of the cases of mucormycosis. And it had shown that the diagnosis can be much earlier. Before diagnosis by other technique, it can pick up by this process. Even in burn patient, this is another paper which had shown that very good results which can be done. But I am trying to say is that, friends, before starting PCR in your routine lab, your several standardization steps are required. It's not so easy. Even, European Aspergillus PCR initiative has started it. I went to the different labs in Europe. I asked, are you doing in routine? Cornelia Lasfroel from Austria said, no, Arun, I am not using it in routine. I said, why? You have been the promoter in this. She said that when we use in routine, there is some problem. So I'm still not very convinced about this PCR in case of diagnosis of this. There is another technique had come up, that you can use this 18S ribosomal DNA, and that can really help, which had been this particular paper showed very good positivity with doing this process. Now coming to the kits. Several commercial kits are there in Aspergillus PCR. You can see this comparison which have been made. Overall sensitivity is significantly lower in serum than in respiratory specimens, so BL sample is much better. A lower sensitivity in patients who are on antifungal prophylaxis. At present, these are the two assays which are recommended compared to the others. But I am not sure. I have not used any of these assays because I am going into the other plane. I am coming very soon about that. Even Aspergillus PCR, some of the papers showed very good result in CSF sample. You can see the sensitivity had shown 75% and 98% specificity. Even these are the newer techniques which are coming, whether it is the FLIMARRAY test, light cycler test, SafetyFast, Magniplex, all these are detecting both bacteria and fungus that can also be used. This is a comparison in case of the galactomannan versus PCR, where it had shown that if you use PCR, that is not giving so much sensitivity, but combining with the galactomannan, the sensitivity increases. So everywhere, yesterday, Dr. Banhock has mentioned the same thing. Possibly he has cited the same paper where it had shown that it is usually you have to combine both galactomannan and PCR. And there is also another paper which showed the same picture, if you combine galactomannan with PCR. But I am not again still convinced about PCR. So different molecular techniques have been done, antibody-based, nucleic acid-based, or mass spectrometry-based. And if you go by this, pros and cons, molecular strength had been seen in PCR, sequence, whole genome sequencing, hybridization, mass spectrometry. These different techniques had got strengths as well as the weaknesses. I am not going to read all these things because it is all in a developmental phase where you need to understand much more. Coming to the important area, we may have all these tests, but really what do we want? We want to improve patients' outcome. Really, is it helping? There are two papers which have been there. This particular paper showed that these are the patients where they have not used any PCR or molecular technique. This is where the molecular technique has been used. And in probable group, there is a definite improvement, and it has shown the mortality can come down. Contrasting paper, just contrast. Look at this. Prospective study, PCR-based preemptive approach in 99 stem cell transplant group. Patients who are tested positive were randomized. After 100 days PCR test only on clinical suspicion of IFI, a single positive PCR was not associated with IFI irrespective of treatment. And it had shown there is no better outcome which had been there after starting or inclusion of the PCR. So while there are very few data on clinical outcome reported in the literature, the outcome data on assessing the molecular test for cost effectiveness is even very, very less. So limited data showed, yes, it can reduce the cost by not having antifungal, but still it is not very clear. So what is the recommendation in case of molecular testing? Blood PCR, if you try to do, there is single positive result may not help much. You need at least two positive sample, two positive result in giving some amount of confidence in diagnosis. And in case of if you can do BL testing, that is a much better test that can have a better result. And in patients who are strongly suspected of having IPA, but in whom PCR testing Aspergillus is negative, consider doing the biopsy or additional testing. So coming to the new test where I have more interest, that is the point of care test. One is the lateral flow assay. You know about already mentioned by Dr. Professor Lee that in case of Cryptococcus, it can be very commonly being used. But this is the area where my interest now. In case of Aspergillus, the diagnosis is an important challenge. What we found is that this is two tests. One which is detecting a protein antigen, and this is detecting the galactomannan. The galactomannan showed to be a bit better comparable to the protein antigen, you can see the percentage of sensitivity, specificity which I had shown. It is a bit better. So possibly we need to have this lateral flow assay which is having less contamination chance and giving quicker result and possibly can help in case of diagnosis. You can see in BL sample, if you do lateral flow assay, it is much better, and especially in case of solid organ transplant, it had shown very good sensitivity. Even in possible invasive aspergillosis, and when patient had been given antifungal drug, the sensitivity falls. So what is the status? Present status is that it is better if you use BL sample than serum. Most promising in non-neutropenic patient, that's very contrasting picture. Use in combination with galactomannan, you can do till more data is available. It has potential, but you need to still evaluate in your lab. This another technique had come, proximate ligation assay. This is a lady who got her PhD on this, and she now is trying to put it in commercialization. Hopefully it comes, because it has got better sensitivity than galactomannan, and it can give a better result. There are some other techniques people tried, like cytokine detection, especially these cytokine IL-8, which have been found to be quite specific in invasive aspergillosis, but I have not tried again. So we need to understand whether it can really help or not. Some people have tried with these aspergillus fumigators, triacetyl fucerin C, that is the TFFC marker. And this had been found to be excreted via the kidney, and this had been intact form which had been detected or tried. This is another technique which is being tried in some of the labs in case of Germany. That is the fungal specific T cell detection technique. And they are saying that it can be done even in bedside. It's just like what we do in case of tuberculosis. When we are going for tuberculosis specific T cells, here also this is the same technique. By flow cytometry you can detect this, and this had been studied in case of the mucormycosis and showed very good result. Lastly, if you see this particular test, what initially thought to be very useful, that is the eNose test. That means here, just with your breath, you can identify whether fungal infection is there or not. And it had been found that with invasive aspergillosis, one of these particular tests can detect this particular method. But I think there are a lot of issues are there, food habit, person habit, lot of things, smoking, and all these factors would come in the breath test. So it's not so easy to standardize. So friends, summarizing my point of care test, what I can say is that there are a lot of hope. In case of Candida, of course, T2 is a good test, but it's very expensive. But in pulmonary aspergillosis, the lateral flow devices or later the proximate ligation assay may help. Cryptococcosis already it is there, and histoplasmosis it is there. So summarizing, what I try to tell you is that, yes, there is need. Ultimately, you have to give an early diagnosis so that clinician can give the therapy much early. Here, the interest is detection of fungi in the blood or tissue, rapid identification of fungus, and if you can even do antifungal susceptibility test on this method. And I would say that proteomic approach, MALDI has got a lot of promise. And in case of genomic, yes, possibly the immunochromatographic technique would be much more useful. European PCR Aspergillus initiative is a good initiative, but we need commercial system that can really be useful. There are new initiatives in case of genetic susceptibility and point of care test, but Asian laboratories where I think we need more investment. Most of the laboratories don't have even MALDI. MALDI is a very important one which should be there. I would say that lateral flow assay is a cheaper option and need to develop in most of the laboratories if we can standardize, and we need to have reference laboratory. Thank you for your kind attention.